Everybody, welcome back with the Plapper. Platypus is the name, and welcome to another Persona 5X video. Today we're talking about one of my favorite characters in the game, the 4-star known as Yuki and her persona Styx, which is one of my favorite bands. So we're going to talk about this character, kind of get into, we're going to read her skills, figure out what they do. That way, you know, a lot of people with the 4 stars, they haven't even looked at the character skills and stuff. And then I'll kind of go over her weapons, her revelations, her team comps, and then we'll do a little bit of a showcase here at the end as well. So why do I like this character so much? Now, I'm going to say something maybe controversial. There is a reasonable chance that this character in some teams could be better for you than Minami, than Marion. She actually can improve your damage, I think, more, while also keeping you just as survivable, if not more so survivable. Plat, what are you talking about? That's crazy. This is a shitty 4-star. Yes, but and I'll admit, right, you do have to have a very specific team kind of set up, or at least have like she needs a specific type of damage dealer, so she doesn't fit into every single team. But without further ado, let us jump into it. So what does she actually do? So the first line of text you could read in her entire kit is the most annoying line of text in her entire kit. At the start of battle, grant oath to one random ally. The word right here, random, is very annoying. I wish it would be annoying as well if every time you brought it into battle, you had to cast the turn 0 skill to put oath. So the fact that it goes, but I wish it was targeted a little bit, where I wish it was character with the highest defense, character with the highest attack, character with the lowest HP, something. I don't know. I wish there was something so you could try to manipulate it so it lands on the same thing. I'll admit this part is annoying. If you really want oath to be on the right character, you might need to reload a fight a couple times to make it happen. She can move it around, but sometimes you don't want to spend your turns doing that. So that part is annoying. Everything else I love. At the end of her turn, you grant a shield equal to 24%. This is around, I don't know, 1,800 to 2,000. She's got 43 defense, 4,300 defense. You get a little, you get a decent amount there, and it happens every single turn. It only happens to the one ally with oath, but still, that is pretty nice. When they have oath, they get their defenses increased. Whenever an ally with oath takes an action, gain a blessing stack. This is very important for her skill 3. When you use her ultimate, blessing to the whole team. The blessings, this sounds weak, but this is very decent for her skill 3 again, because it cares about blessing stacks. And then skill awareness 6, not the best. It increases damage on the character with oath and herself by 10%, and then it increases blessing damage by up to 20%. Obviously, if they do bless damage, this is pretty good. If they don't do bless damage, this is less good, but still 10% more damage. So she's basically going to be put on oath on someone, and then that's really all her passive does. So really what you're going to be doing here is you want to have oath on the right target, and then you want to be using absolute judgment. But let's look at her skill 2 first. This is the skill how you actually use it, how you move around the oath. So you get right here at the bottom, decrease target's damage taken by 20% one time for 2 turns, and then grants 2 blessing stacks and grants the target oath. So this will allow you to move oath if it's on the wrong target. It also is a big single target heal. It's a shield, which is usually better than healing because it increases your ability to survive around, right? Let's say if Marion heals you to full HP, but you still die in 1 round, it's less good than if you got, like, you know, 5,000 shield, and then that prevents you from dying in the first place, right? Although then you won't be able to heal necessarily all the way back up, but typically shields are better than healing at similar values because it'll help you actually stay alive from being 1-rounded. But this is a big shield, increases their defense, their survivability by a shit ton, and then most importantly, the reason you use this is to grant some oath. The first skill here, it's a very cool visual skill. You're only using this to break shields. I'll admit it's not a crazy good ability. It does grant blessing stacks, so you might use this if absolute judgment doesn't have enough gavel stacks, which we'll talk about in a second. But basically, this is a skill you don't use that much unless you're breaking shields or absolute judgment is not ready to go. You could also use sacral glow instead to kind of keep applying the buff there. Absolute judgment, this is where it gets good. Okay, absolute judgment is nuts. This ability is crazy good, but it needs at least one character to help her out if you want it up 24/7 every single turn. Every other turn she can manage herself, I believe, but you're gonna want to bring another character, I think, to make this really good. So deal bless damage to 1 foe equal to 120% of her defense. That's not very good. I mean, it's like whatever. It's 1 foe, not all of them. the damage is, you're not going to care. Okay, I'll be honest. You might notice it. It might help a little bit, but it's really not that big of a deal. But when Yuki or an ally with Oath gains blessing stacks, you gain a gavel stack. So what is Oath? Oath does nothing inherently. It has the other things. When an ally has Oath, do this. When an ally has Oath, do that. But the Oath doesn't have a thing on it. Same with Gavel. Gavel is something that you use when you use this skill. But that means whenever you or an ally with Oath, you gain Bless, you're going to get a Gavel stack. It stacks up to 5. It doesn't say it there. So sort of condemnation. It grants a blessing stack to you and your allies with Oath. That means it also grants you 2 Gavel stacks. Sacred Glow moves Oath and then grants 2 blessing. That grants you 2 Oath Gavel stacks. When an ally with Oath takes an action, gain a blessing stack, that will also give you 1 Gavel stack. And then this here, increase the skill, 2 blessing stacks to all allies. This will give you 4 gavel stacks because you and your ally, right? So you can actually, you get these gavel stacks and it goes up to 5. If you have her weapon, it goes up to 6, but we'll just assume it goes to 5 for now. So what actually happens when this skill is used, after gavel reaches 2 stacks, spend all the gavel stacks. For each gavel stack spent, increase the party's damage by 5% for 1 turn, and grant shield to the party equal to 15.2% of her defense for 2 turns. So let's take a look here. So mine has about, I will say 4,400. I think she's slightly south of that. That's how much defense she has. So she's going to give everyone 0.15. We'll just say, call it 15%. 660 shield, and we have 5 gavel stacks, 3,300 shield every single turn. And that is actually lower than what it is for a couple reasons. One, because her defense actually goes up like when in combat because of all the modifiers that happen. You know, you have the navigators and stuff. So this is actually on the low end of what you're going to get every single turn for your defense. So just know that this number, like I checked it earlier, I was getting closer to 7,000 on my team. So keep in mind, because this isn't including her defense for the weapon and stuff like that, right? So this is roughly how much shield you're going to get, on the lowest amount of shield you're going to get every single turn. And you're going to get a 25% damage increase. If you have the weapon, again, it's 30% damage increase because it's for each gavel stack, and it stacks up to 5 times, and then you get an extra 1 for her weapon. Also, 2 passives here. When an ally has Oath, increase their damage by 7% for every 1,500. So when she's up to 4,500 defense, it'll be 21% more damage. She's already almost their baseline, let alone that she'll definitely have it when actually in combat. And then she has a one-time save thing where at the end of her turn, if all your allies are almost dead, she'll grant them all a shield and a blessing stack. It's kind of cool, but it only happens once per battle. And that part's lame. It really, you don't need to worry about urgent matter. But cross-examination, 21% damage on a specific target. So let's add this up, okay? 21% damage on a specific target. Then you're going to get I want to call it 30% because I have the weapon, but let's say 25%, 30% damage on the whole team for a turn. So you're up to 51% damage there. Also, you have an additional 10% damage here because then they have Oath, and then you have an additional 20% blessing potentially if you actually have blessing, right? But if you don't have bless damage, then that's that. So it's actually a pretty big amount of AoE damage buffing goodness. Also, her ultimate, it's not that strong of a hit, but it does increase the party's defense, which is fine because it increases her defense, which increases all of her stuff. I don't use it that much, but I have used it for sure. So if you actually kind of take a look, yeah, these skills aren't incredible, but if you take a look at this skill here, you're doing damage, all right? Maybe not the most, but you're doing damage. Then you're given the whole team 3, 4, 5, 6,000 shield. You're giving them all a giant buff. You're also giving a damage buff. You're giving your single Oath character more defense. You're giving them more shield on top of the passive. Then you're giving them more damage, and you are just giving them more blessed damage if that matters. So it's actually, she's doing a ton here. That is just very, very good as long as you're able to actually use Absolute Judgment. Now, how do you actually get to use Absolute Judgment? You need 5 gavel stacks for it to be really good. You could use it as long as it's at 3 and it's fine. The 5 is where you really are like, this is a fantastic skill. So the easiest way to use that is to use Wonder. Wonder has, Wonder has that light persona. I mean, people are talking about it now because Summer Closer is out, right? And so people are using these characters a bit more, which is kind of why I'm doing this. But if we take a look here at the fight that I'm going to show you in a second here, for survivability reasons, Wonder has this persona here, right? This persona gives the whole team 2 blessing stacks. So if you make this character your oath bearer, and then you use this skill, that's immediately 5 gavel stacks, because it's 2 blessing on Yuki, it's 2 blessing on himself, which is 4 gavel stacks, and then she generates a blessing just for him being the oath character. It doesn't even matter if it's him. You don't need the oath on him. You can have the oath on anybody as long as the get comes up. It'll be good, right? But you probably want it on him because of the blessed damage and stuff. So that is the easiest way. The other ways that it's going to be a little bit easier are with characters that generate bless. I mean, there's not a lot of them, right? I don't actually know if Summer Closer does because I don't have her, but if you do have her and she does, then that'll make it easier. Obviously, Marion is very good, but you're probably not running Marion and Yuki unless it's a very dedicated team that needs bless damage. Whereas running Wonder as a DPS and running Yuki honestly could just keep your team alive. Yuki could do a pretty darn good job, especially if you're using like Anubis on Wonder for curse damage. You know, you're using like a DPS dot build. You could use Anubis, who puts a bunch of curse stacks on, but a side effect is he has like a 50% chance when he does curse damage to give himself bless stacks. That will also keep her topped off. So that's going to be the easy ones here, is going to be Miriam and Wonder. Outside of that, it's not going to be particularly easy, which is why she's not just broken OP. She does require to be in a more specific style team. Now, as far as her weapons go, I think her 4-star is fine. It's good, but it's not great. Increase her defense by a big chunky amount when granting a shield to an ally with less than 50% HP. Increase shield by 31%. I mean, that's like fine, but it's like inherently not amazing with shields, I don't feel like, because shields you use early and you keep your max HP high, so you don't ever have to actually get your HP low. But I guess if you have a way to get your HP low and then you do shield, she doesn't really heal that much, right? A little bit of blessing stacks, but she doesn't heal that much. So if you get your HP to like 40%, 30%, then you just get bigger shields. That's fine, and the defense is fine, but it's not a crazy good weapon. The 5-star though, this thing slaps. I love this 5-star. Look at this. Increase defense by 45%, already chunky as hell. When spending gavel stacks with your skill, add 1 to the number of stacks spent. So you still need to get to the 2 stacks initially to actually spend it. But once you get to the 2, you just add 1. So at minimum, you're getting a 3 gavel benefit and upwards of 6 gavel benefit. Very, very good. That's a 30% damage increase and an even bigger shield. Also steal 13% of target's defense up to 520. This is 520 defense away from the enemy onto you. It's fine. I think it's good, but it's hard for me to know how much. I mean, I guess it depends on the enemy's defense, right? If they have 1 million defense, this is nothing. But if you get anything below the 520, that means you did get the full 13% value. So it's honestly probably pretty good. It's not gonna blow your mind. It's mostly because it buffs her own defense even more. So that is, as far as revelations, keep it simple. Give her defense, give her shields. I don't know about the faith and peace. If there's a different faith one you could use, maybe. Like after taking damage, increase defense by 40% for 2 turns. This could be good because each time a shield is granted, increase target's defense by 7%. This is good for survivability. It feels like it's mostly good for Fox, whereas this would give you bigger shields. If you were getting hit by an AoE attack every turn, this is probably better, whereas this is better for like the Fox team. Obviously, so as far as like her building her stacks, those are the characters she's good with in that way. But her number one, basically she's a support for Fox. Fox cares about defense and getting shields. Holy shit, she boosts people defense and gives shields. That's crazy. Other than that, I would use her in basically replacing a healer in any team that she can fit, because no other healer is giving you a flat 30% damage to the whole team and a total of 50% damage on your main DPS. pretty damn good for a healer that's not taking the spot of a buffer. You know, you could still have a dedicated buffer or a dedicated debuffer as well. So very, very good. Let's actually go into the fight that I was telling you about as well in the metaverse, and we'll kind of give it a little bit of a whirl here. This is genuinely one of my favorite characters. She looks cool. She uses dual pistols. Her survivability is just like, I think people sleep on how good this skill is. I don't think we need to bring Sapia because this guy is immune to like all elements. But you know, let's bring Ryuji. Ryuji tries to kill himself, right? We're bringing Soy not for the survivability, but just because I want to. Ideally, I want him to be targeted. Actually, Wonder's the target here, so. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Let's go ahead and bring out our boy here. So you can see she's at 1 gavel stack immediately. I don't even know why she's at 1 right now, but this should put her rate up to 5 stacks. Boom. Now that she's at 5 stacks, when she uses Absolute Judgment, let's take a look at how much defense everyone gets. Everyone got 6,338, and that's probably even low compared to what she could get. I actually don't think you need to do anything here. We just want him to use his God Fist that hits for an insane amount of damage. You know what? There we go. We'll have you use... Can you do this on your first hit? Just do Pyrotactics. Good hit, by the way. So God's Hand on Ryuji. Boom, he survived. And that's with Ryuji having hurt himself, right? And so then you basically just kind of do that again and again. Now I'll admit, Ryuji did take a shit ton of damage there. I was hoping that they would attack Wonder because he's kind of the one that's set up for this. But now, look we're at 5 stacks again. You do it again. 6,836, right? We didn't even use her highlight. We'll keep her alive to use her highlight. Let's use Icy Defense here. Just to increase all of our stats and hopefully actually get Soy to attack. But also, yeah, because she puts extra shields on the one with Oath. Well, let's use God Hand Burst here. You should be fine. Look at that. Look how much shield they have. Blazing Hell. We're fine, bro. No one even cares. So let's go ahead and use her highlight here to give her even more. It's going to make everyone have Bless. Everyone have, well, it just makes everyone have Bless. But it gives her a big defense boost as well. So let's take a look after we do this and see how beefy our defenses are. And again, we're not here to like do the most damage to this guy, right? I just picked a fight with a guy that I know hits really, really hard. I didn't even see how much the shields were that time. I just picked a guy that hits really, really hard, right? So let's take a look, I guess, at Soy here, right? It doesn't matter who. You had the Oath, so we'll take a look at you, right? So the Icy Defense isn't hers, but increased electric and bless damage, that's not hers. You got the Oath. There we go. Increased bless damage by 4%. Up to 8 times. I wonder if this is actually only 4% or if that is higher. He's got bless stacks, 8% attack. I don't remember where he gets that from. Then he's got 31% more defense. He's got 20. I think that might be from Puppet though. But look at this: 30% increased damage, 20% increased damage, 620 defense, 8,009, 10,000 points in shields on top of his already, like what? On top of his 11,000 HP. Yeah, he's got as much shield as he does HP almost. And that's just her using one skill over and over again while also boosting everyone else's damage. So yes, of course, this isn't like the ideal fight for like, you know, they don't release a Yuki fight. But I'm telling you, for just being a person that buffs the rest of your team, but is primarily a replacement for a healer, if you can find a way to fit her into the team that makes sense, she works so well. Anubis, if you're going to be using Anubis ever, you're going to be using that AoE light guy. If you're going to be using Marion, you're going to want to fight against a light team where you need her for shield breaking as well. But I'm telling you, Yuki is better than people are making her out. I think people are going to start realizing it now that there's actually a use case for her with Summer Closer, but there already was with Fox. But even if you're not using Fox, you're not using Summer Closer, she's just a good unit. She's one that I would definitely consider bringing into some fights. But yeah, guys, that's all for this one. Yuki, absolutely an all-star of this game and cool looking as hell. So much love, guys. Per platypus is per ploutopus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye!